So, this video will be completely different from my other videos. It's definitely not going to be stimulating or edited in any sort of way. I wanted to make this very quickly to provide value in a short time. And so I have prepared 5 steps which you can take to improve your sleep, which will then improve your overall life. You know how it goes. And so I think I will go straight to it. So let's start with the first step. And I have prepared the list from the least important one to the most important one, but it's just how it works for me. For somebody else, the first or the third point could be more important than for me the fifth one. And so let's get straight to it. So for the first one, letter S stands for showers. Let me write it down. And so showers, I'm not specifically focusing on showers, but on the temperature of those showers. So you can have either a cold shower or a warm shower. And there is a big difference on the time of the day when you have a cold shower or a warm shower. You have to keep in mind that I'm pretty sure that you already know the science and the background behind those two types of showers, but I'm just going to briefly explain it. So cold showers, they pretty much wake you up. They also have a huge benefit they also have huge health benefits, and they also produce dopamine, or they raise your dopamine levels, which stay throughout, 8 hours throughout your day or so. So cold showers are recommended in the morning because they wake you up. That's pretty much it. Let me write down cold showers and warm showers. As for warm showers, they do somewhat like the opposite. So they calm your body down and they relax you more. That's why they are recommended in the evening, whilst the cold ones in the morning. There is also a connection to temperature, but I think I will get back to it a bit later. As for the second step, this one stands for food as well as liquids. So it's pretty much the same as showers. It's not focusing exactly like on the foods or the liquids themselves. I don't really care about what you eat. Definitely you should eat something that's healthy. I think you know that already, so I'm not going to go into what kinds of foods you should eat or shouldn't eat before sleep or after you wake up. You can Google it or something like that. And so I am more focusing on when you eat. And so it's recommended that you eat right after you wake up, so that your body knows that it's already day and it's time to wake up. But I am actually fasting in the morning, so I would say it depends on the person, on the individual, because for somebody it could be a great way to wake up and get the day started, but for me, I can focus much better when I am fasted. So it depends on you if you want to eat or don't want to eat in the morning, but the most important part of this is when you eat before sleep. So as for the liquids, you shouldn't drink anything at least an hour before sleep, so that you won't wake up during the night in order to go to the toilet. As for food, it should be around 2 hours before sleep. For some reason, I never thought of liquids as something to be digested, and so I was drinking 10 minutes before sleep, or maybe even right before sleep. And that's not the best idea, because as I mentioned, you can wake up during the night because you need to go to pee, so I don't recommend that. So for food, at least 2 hours before sleep. As for liquids, at least 1 hour before sleep. As for my third point, M stands for movement. It's definitely important to not train before sleep, but I think you already know that. it will wake your body up, and so it won't be ready to fall asleep, as well as your sleeping won't be that efficient. So as for movement, I actually meant literally movement in general, just moving around and so on. You should keep it to minimum. So, but also don't lay in bed before sleep. Your body will get too uncomfortable and it will be much more difficult to fall asleep in the same position. So maybe just sit, or you can stand, but you shouldn't walk around too much. Just slow your body down and prepare it for sleep. So you can sit around, as I mentioned, or keep the movement as to the minimum, basically. I think that's about it for movement. It's pretty clear by itself. As for the fourth point, that's what I mentioned at the beginning, that I will get back to it, is temperature. I'm not going to explain any sort of science behind all these steps. You can search it up if you want. Also, Huberman has made many very valuable videos. I actually got these points from his video, but I still wanted to make mine video of this because these are the steps which genuinely changed my sleep. And actually, I will tell you something about myself before I get into the fourth point. So I started working on my sleep schedule, or my overall sleeping, last summer. I started waking up at around 6, and it was super difficult. It took me a long time to actually get used to it, but eventually, like the peak of my performance was at around December, or somewhere around that time. I was waking up at 3:30 and I was going to bed at 8 p.m. So it was very interesting. I was waking up that early because I wanted to finish my most important work before school. For some reason, after school I just feel like a complete zombie, like a goblin, super tired. And it's probably because school is super ineffective and boring, but I'm not going to talk about that in this video, at least. And so right now I am waking up at 4 and I'm going to bed at 8:30. I think that's one of the best times for me. For you it could be something else, because maybe you need more time to sleep, actually the length of your sleep should be longer, or maybe you are actually the opposite of me, so you are a night owl, and so you like to stay up late and wake up later because you are more focused during the evening time. So it depends on the individual. So that's all I wanted to mention about myself. That's all I wanted to mention about myself, so that you know how when I wake up, at least a little bit. And so for temperature, just to keep it brief, make sure to keep your room temperature at least around, I believe, 3 degrees below the normal room temperature. But also, I think it depends on you. So if you like it to be much colder, or maybe you like it warmer, you have to decide that on your own. But for me, I definitely like it much cooler. It's much easier to fall asleep if you have your room at cooler temperatures. And when you are waking up, it would be better to have your room a bit warmer, but it's probably something you can't really influence. So at least try to keep your room temperature lower before sleep, so that it's basically you will know that it's much better when you try it. As for the fifth step, I think that's the most important one. At least that's actually I don't think that this is the most important one, because all of these combined are what make this routine very efficient and effective. But fifth one is just one of the most important ones. And so L stands for light. I'm not going to mention natural light and so on, because I'm not really focusing on that. I'm mostly focusing on artificial lights before sleep, so I'm trying to keep them to minimum, at least an hour before sleep. I actually try to not look at any sort of artificial light. I only have one small table lamp turned on, and also I completely avoid overhead lights, because in your eyes there are receptors which like collect light, and so and they are located on the bottom of your eyes, and so if you have overhead lights, they shine directly into those receptors, and so they make your body feel like it's day. So definitely avoid, at least if you have to have some sort of lights turned on, at least avoid overhead lights. As for natural lights, as I mentioned, those are sunlight as well as moonlight. Actually, moonlight doesn't affect your sleep if you look at it during the night or something like that. It's completely fine. As for sunlight, it's recommended to look at sunlight right after you wake up, but I am waking up before it even comes out. So when that happens, you can go about your day normally. Try to have as many artificial lights on as possible when you wake up in the morning, not in the evening. And when the sun comes out, then go and get that sunlight. And the background behind that is that your body has like a clock, which is called circadian rhythm, and it basically controls when you are feeling tired, or when you are feeling energized and ready to go. I don't know what I was about to write there, so let's not think about that. As for the bonus, which I have prepared right here, I think one of the most important points is just to be consistent. And also, not only consistent, but you also shouldn't expect results to occur right after 1 week of doing all of these habits. It will take at least a month to completely get used to it. Actually, when you will start, firstly you will actually feel worse when you will avoid artificial light. That is how it felt for me. I felt more tired in the morning, as well as I was waking up during the night as well when I was avoiding artificial light. But I stuck to it for literally, it will be a year soon, and now I can't go to bed when I have seen or have been doing something on devices, or have been in front of artificial light at least an hour before sleep. I just can't go to bed then, so I have to have at least that hour before sleep. But what I wanted to mention, it will take at least a month to get used to it, or around that time. And also you have to be consistent, because if you have days like one day you go to bed at a certain time, you do all those habits, but the next day you don't do them, the day after that you do them, it's just not going to work the same way. So you have to be consistent, and definitely don't have like weekend off, that during the weekend you go to bed later and wake up later. No, every day should be the same, because you have that circadian rhythm, the clock inside your body, as I mentioned, which will get used to the specific times you go to bed. And so you can't confuse it by going to bed at different times, because then you won't be able to fall asleep as quickly.